I am absolutely and utterly a believer in hard work. I'm a proponent of hard work. I have all this money and all I do is work. My entire life is work. This podcast is work. I'm getting in the car and going to another meeting, work. I always knew I wanted to escape the matrix before I escaped it. And let me tell you why. People who are in charge of the world don't care about anyone but themselves. They don't care about you. The government came along, closed your business down by force, forced you to have a medical procedure you didn't want, made you stay in your house and cover your face. They came along and did it because they were told to by someone above the government, because the government's not even in charge of anything. And now they've gone back to normal. Everyone thinks they're not going to do it again. And also what I was saying earlier about property being a tool to the matrix. If you buy a $10 or $20 million property under a government, you can't piss that government off. You can't disagree with that government. If the tax authority of that government says you owe them money, you better fucking pay it. You can't even get a parking ticket, my G. Listen, if I'm in England right now, I don't own any assets in England, right? Let's say I decide not to pay that, right? What are they going to do? I don't have any assets in the UK. They're going to make a bunch of letters, send it to a bailiff. Bailiff's going to drive around the UK. I don't even live here. Boom, it's over, right? If I had a 20 million pound house, eventually it's going to go, the 60 pound becomes 120, 120 becomes 240. Yeah, bailiff comes, 2 grand, 3 grand, boom, boom, boom. Gets to the point where they're going to take my 20 million pound house off me. Maybe it takes 3 years, but they will, over a parking ticket. I knew it was indoctrination, and for that reason, I was always searching. If you're searching, you're going to find.
They're trying very hard to still keep control over us and keep influence over us. And they're doing that by, especially with the way societies work, especially with the way relationships work, with the way the children go to school. Certain things are keeping a very tight grip on because they know it's very important for their power and their propaganda. You are inside of a reality which is false. It doesn't necessarily have to be computer controlled, but certainly media influenced. They will tell you false versions of reality. They will tell you things that simply aren't true, so that you believe in lies just to keep yourself and your mind distracted while your body is being exploited for work. And it's exactly the same thing as the media itself. But the truth is, you have to understand there's very influential people out there in the world with massive amounts of money, massive amounts of influence. Yeah. And they're trying to push certain agendas and ideals on the population, because why wouldn't they? People are pushing these agendas, and they're pushing them for a reason. And it's very powerful people who are doing it, and they're trying to destroy the morality and certainly the resolve of the general populace, the general people, because they want to keep their very fortunate position. People who are truly in charge of the world are sitting and saying, what is most advantageous to us? Is it more advantageous to us if people are semi-depressed, self-obsessed, selfish, don't care about their neighbor, have no morality, atheistic, and will absorb anything they're told without any kind of resistance? Or is it better for us if they think for themselves and they're critical thinking and they believe in religion and they want to do good to God? And the truth is, in the West at least, it's the first answer that things are interested in.
So once you escape the matrix and you try and find a way to get your wealth outside of the system, then you can exist geographically anywhere. And once you can do that, then laws don't really apply to you. If they made a law in the UK I was unhappy with, I'd just leave. And if they made a law in Romania where I live I'm unhappy with, I would just leave. I don't have to be a law breaker. I don't have to be a criminal. I'll just go somewhere else, right? So property kind of ties you down, things tie you down. And if you look at the real high levels of wealth, if you look at the billionaires and stuff, they're trying to do the same thing. They don't own anything.
On an individual level, I think it's very important for you to be a sovereign individual, which is hard to do, especially in the modern world, but you need to have finances. It's hard to be free when you're broke. That finance needs to be in places or come from streams which can't be affected or canceled or turned off by the matrix machine. You need to be financially free. You need a strong network. You need good friends. You need to be anti-fragile. You need to be available to travel around the world, many passports. There's a whole bunch of things you can set up as an individual. But for the people watching at home, they just need to sit and understand that the system does not make rules for the good of you. It makes rules for the good of the people who make the rules. And a lot of the life paths and systematic processes that are laid out to the average man at home today is not for their own good. It's only going to lead them to depression and misery. It's for the good of the system. Not everybody can escape. Not everybody can. Most people are dependent on the system. They'll fight to defend it. But some people have their minds ready to be free. But if I didn't exist and people who thought like me didn't exist and nobody spoke up, then it would just be absolute tyranny. And there have to be people to stand up and say no and push back. Yeah. In life, it doesn't matter where. In life, if there's no checks and balances, if there's no equal and opposite force, everything becomes tyrannical. If the ocean doesn't reach a point of equal and opposite force, it will just engulf the entire planet, right? There has to be an equal and opposite force at some point. I'm not talking about freeing every single person from the matrix. I'm talking about freeing enough people who are ready to understand how the world really works so that there's an equal and opposite force to the tirade of bullshit, the absolute clown world bullshit they're trying to push on all of us. If nobody stands up to it, we're going to end up just fucking swallowing it all. Yeah. It's garbage. So you need to have an equal army on the other side. I am currently one of the most powerful people on the planet. I can influence millions and millions and millions of young people with my mouth alone by speaking. That's why they fear me. With great power comes great responsibility. We ignore the thousands of women who stood up and stood by me and said everything I said is true. This is that there's a large contingent of men who still want to make money, go to the gym, be strong, drive a fast car, be traditionally masculine, and don't want to be shamed for that. Of course I believe in men and women. Of course I believe in love. Of course I believe in marriage. Of course I believe in family. Okay. I believe in marriage in the traditional sense. I believe a man has a duty to stand up and be a real man. I believe that the problem with the world today that we are facing is that not enough men are sticking to the age-old ways of masculinity. I believe that me standing up and saying a man must protect a woman and provide for her, so he needs to make sure that she's safe. He needs a degree of authority. I believe women are sovereign individuals and they can make any choice they so desire. If someone comes to me and says I'm clinically depressed or I feel very, very sad, I would say the first thing you need to do is stop accepting the identity of a clinically depressed person. Stop accepting you have no control over this. And what you need to do is stop identifying that way and let's work together to try and fight it. I believe that it's not healthy to hand over all your power and believe that depression is an outside disease that you can't affect. I believe that feeling depressed is real. I don't believe depression as a clinical disease is real. I think PTSD is very real. Unfortunately, I have some friends who suffer from that. I know that feeling depressed is real. I believe that the number one power you have against these things are trying to take control of your own mind and affecting your own life. I've lived a very difficult life, and I know people who have, that the things that made them feel better is when they woke up and said, you know what, I'm not going to allow this to damage me anymore. I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to get up and I'm going to fight this as hard as I can. Thousands of people who have emailed me saying, my doctor told me I was clinically depressed and it's a disease that I have got in my brain and I can't be fixed. And I started listening to you and I realized that that's not the case and I can fix my own life and you're the only person who has ever helped me. I had a guy who emailed me saying he was clinically depressed and he was going to kill himself. And he said he lost his girlfriend. That's why he became clinically depressed. I said, listen, go to the gym. Get a six-pack first. Once you've got a six-pack, email me again. I obviously am not a psychiatrist, I'm not a doctor. I told him, because I replied to my emails. I said, have you been to a psychiatrist? He said, yes, I'm clinically depressed. I've been on these pills, this amount of time. I'm on antidepressants and it doesn't work. I said, I don't know what to say to you besides this. Go to the gym, get a six-pack first. Once you've got a six-pack, email me again. If you still feel like killing yourself, I don't know what else to say. I'd say, strong body is a strong mind, go train. He went, he started sending me progress pictures, emailing me him getting in better shape, and eventually got a six-pack. He's now a professional bodybuilder. And he said, I can't believe I was considering that. I feel so much better, etc. The doctor was telling him he was clinically depressed and couldn't cure it. He started taking control of his own life, and now he felt better. That if somebody has depression of any kind, whether it's clinical, whether it exists or not, whether they feel depressed or not, whatever, that taking control of their life, taking personal responsibility, and working hard is always going to be the positive, best thing they can possibly do. My content existed because I tried my very hardest to be an absolute and utter realist, especially with uncomfortable truths. I don't want to be seen as a negative influence in the world. I know that there's a whole bunch of men. I get thousands of emails a week from men whose lives I've saved. I get thousands of emails a week from men who are on the verge of suicide and I've saved their lives. The government is not capable of helping the poor. And this is why it's so important as a person you take personal responsibility and understand you're living in a world where the matrix can be cracked. You can make a bunch of money, but you need to take responsibility and do it. I refuse to accept that there are people out there who cannot become happy, contented individuals. I refuse to accept we live in a world where God is creating people who, no matter how hard they work and how good their life becomes, can't be happy. I don't accept that. I accept that the universe is a very giving place and that God loves all of us. And if you try your best and you work hard, you can become a better person. Of course, money can't buy happiness. I agree. But money is the third most important thing in the world. First is your health, because you have nothing, you're going to die. Second is your relationships, because you need love and family. That matters the most. But money can buy everything else. So money's the third most important thing. People should, even if they haven't got a penny in the world, should be going to these meetings about real estate, about investing, but especially if it's cheap, they should go. Just meet other people who at least have money. Have conversations about money. Talk about it. How are you going to get what you don't talk about? The average people come to me and say, what do I do? I'm just the average guy. And my only answer is stop being the average guy. It's my only answer. You can't just be the average guy anymore. The idea from the 1950s that you can just be the normal, average, law-abiding, hard-working citizen and you'll have a good life is gone. Any man out here who goes, I'm just going to work hard, do my bit, and obey the laws, and I'll have a good life. No, you won't. No, you will not. None of these people are getting these things by following the path the system is trying to make me follow. And everybody intrinsically knows this. If you go to if you're at a BP, you're at a petrol station, and I pull up in my Lamborghini, nobody goes, wow, he went to school. He studied hard. And they do that because they know that the easiest way to amass wealth is to break the rules, because the rules are not designed to allow most people to make money. I'm telling the younger generation that if they don't get up and work hard and make sure that they're important, that the world's not going to give a about them. 99% of my content was aimed at men, telling them the truth, saying that as a man, you're born with no inherent value. You have to become important. You have to go through some pain or go through some suffering to make people care about you. Otherwise, you're not going to matter. As a dude, if you walk into the party and you've put no effort into your life, because you need to understand that half of the people on this planet, 50% of all people alive, are females. She takes a shit in the morning like everyone else. She ain't special. Get that shit out your head straight away. So don't be trying too hard. Now, the reason I get away with such little work is because I've never struggled with females, because I never focused on the females. These other game books and Roosh and all these idiots. Any female, no matter how beautiful, knows I'm never going to be the guy hitting her up constantly. I'm not going to be the guy she can call and I'll always answer. I'm not going to be the dude who will give her lifts to work. She knows I got shit going on. Forget the bitch. Forget her. Forget all the chicks. Worry about yourself. Get yourself straight. It's much easier to focus on yourself and get yourself high level and then start getting females than it is to forget about yourself. Then all your time day game running around the mall, doing 1,000 approaches, trying to pick up a real fucking slut who will bang anyone and getting laid. If you go up to 1,000 girls, you get 5 phone numbers and one might fuck you. Yeah, I'm sure that's absolutely true, but so? You're gonna spend your life, instead of becoming rich, instead of becoming strong, instead of becoming smart, you're just gonna fucking run around a mall, approaching girls, day game. And when your own shit's straight, got yourself together, females are an added bonus. And that's how I've managed to attain the highest quality females. So I want you to understand, when we start talking about women, there's a whole bunch of factors you cannot control. So when it comes to approaching hot girls, you have to understand this. Some are open for business, some are closed for business. But what you can control in those situations is that you don't make her lose respect for you and don't kill your chance for the future by being a little begging for attention bullshit. Keep your honor about you. If you're gonna lose the game, there's 2 ways to lose it. With honor and without honor. You're gonna lose. As soon as you sense you're gonna lose, as soon as you detect, this girl, I'm not gonna get her, then you can either lose her by begging, hoping for that little tiny chance and losing all your respect, or just thinking, you know what, I'm gonna try again in 8 months. Fuck this bitch, I'll get somebody. So we all know what the correct decision is. Don't be fucking so desperate for a girl and you just lose all your honor and self-respect. Because then you're never gonna get her. Ever. And that's some real dumb shit. Fuck that garbage. All the game you've read before is bullshit. Every single female you approach is gonna be different. Every single scenario you're in is gonna be different. Every restaurant you sit in is gonna be different. You're different to me. The mood she's in is gonna be different. The weather is gonna be fucking different. Maybe it's raining, maybe it's sunny. Everything has a small part to play. So for me to sit here and say, if you do this, and then you do this, and then you do this, you're gonna get laid, is the kind of bullshit people package up, trying to make it a complicated situation seem simple to get money. Getting laid is not simple. The only thing you can do if you want to retain, especially, as well as obtain hot women, is be yourself. You cannot project and act for any considerable period of time. That's not possible. The only way you can be anything for a considerable period of time is to be yourself. Maybe you're a shit person. Yeah, fine, maybe. But you have to absolutely and utterly be yourself. Now, there are some things which are ironclad beneficial when it comes to getting females. You can be yourself and be a confident version of yourself as opposed to a meek version of yourself. Confidence is always attractive because men were built to lead. Like we said earlier, men were built for combat. So confidence is something you need. Everyone already knows this shit. And confidence doesn't have to be sitting there and bragging. Confidence is little things. Even if I told you to have the exact same mannerisms as me and say the exact same things I would say, they work for me, but they will not work for you because we're individuals. We're absolutely individuals. For the same reason when you learn to fight, you learn the basics of it. But if I were to say, mimic my movements millimeter for millimeter, I won't get hit and you will get hit because we're different bodies. It's just we're different people. So I can't sit here and say, do this, do this, do this. Anyone who tries to tell you that, what they're doing is they're trying to oversimplify an extremely complicated situation in an attempt to get paid. You know you're the G, you ain't got nothing to worry about. You can be yourself and you can be a completely different person to me, personality-wise, and still be a G. You can say completely different things and still be successful. You can have different mannerisms and different techniques or whatever bullshit and still be successful if you've implemented the first lessons correct and pick the girl up. Where are we going? I know where we're going. Not where do you want to go? She doesn't want to hear that shit. She doesn't want to make decisions. Females don't want to think. They want to be led down a rabbit hole of entertainment. They want to be entertained. They don't want to think. They don't want to sit there and have to think about it. They'll say, yeah, we're going here. Even if you get there and it's shit, because I don't like it here, say, yeah, well, I do. Stick to your fucking guns. So confidence is obviously the first thing, but you know that shit already. Just be confident about who you are and what you say. Doesn't mean you have to be an asshole. You have to be an asshole. In fact, a lot of people confuse the two. A lot of people go, girls like assholes. No, girls like confidence. But nowadays, only assholes have confidence. If you're the rare, select guy who's not an asshole and also supremely confident, you're definitely going to fuck. You haven't got to be an asshole. It's the confidence they're attracted to, not the asshole qualities.